Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm just going to wait till 4 o'clock exactly, just to check if anyone else is going to join, and then we'll make a start. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them on the chat. Any comments, it's really useful. Any questions you have, it's really good to have a sort of open discussion and talk about how everybody's getting on and, want this to be a really useful session. Right, so good afternoon, everyone. I'm Emma. I'm the co-founder of Mighty Writer. Lots of you have probably attended webinars before. This one is called Developing Independent Writers in Key Stage 1. Something that's really important and I'm sure something all of you are sort of working towards. I'm doing a poll towards the end. It's just got 3 questions, and one of the questions is things that you might think are useful to be discussed in future webinars, because there will be another whole series in the spring term. So if you're happy to fill in the poll, it just takes a couple of minutes. It's just really helpful knowing, what kinds of things you would like to be discussing. So to make a start on the topic for today, what does it mean to be an independent writer in Key Stage 1? The resources that I go through, the ideas that I share with you, they will be on an attachment which will be sent in an email following this webinar. So you don't need to worry taking notes unless you want to. All the useful things will be sent out to you, including a recording of this webinar itself. So an independent writer in Key Stage 1 is a child who writes with confidence and purpose, turning their own ideas into words without relying on adult prompts or rigid supports. They can plan, compose, and check their writing using taught skills, applying them accurately and creatively. They move beyond copying and scaffolded tasks, and they can generate original sentences and short texts with growing fluency, demonstrating the ability to structure ideas and apply spelling and punctuation knowledge independently as set out in the national curriculum. Most importantly, though, they choose to write, not just because they can, but because they want to. So they're able to bring their own voice to whatever they're doing with increasing accuracy and confidence. So when we're thinking about writing attainment in primary schools, this year, 72% of Year 6 pupils met the expected standard in writing. Now, that was unchanged from 2024, but it was still below the pre-pandemic level of 78%, which was in 2019. Combined reading, writing and maths attainment was 62% this year, meaning nearly 190,000 pupils left primary school below the expected standard, with writing continuing to lag behind other subjects. And disadvantaged pupils face stark gaps. In 2024, just 55% of white working class children met the expected standard in writing, compared to 78% of their non-disadvantaged peers. For SEND pupils, only 30% met the standard. Writing enjoyment and motivation are at a crisis point. There was a National Literacy Trust survey done in 2025, and they surveyed 114,000 pupils. Only 26.6% of children aged 8 to 18 say they enjoy writing in their free time, and that's the lowest level since 2010. And it's down from 47% in 2024 for primary age children. Only 10.4% of children write daily, and enjoyment among primary age children has fallen, and it's the steepest decline of any age group. Children aged 8 to 11, they've gone down from 47.4% to just 40% in 2025 who say they actually enjoy writing. And the thing is that pupils who enjoy writing are 5 times more likely to write daily than those who don't. And as we know, motivation is linked directly to attainment. Children who enjoy writing are 7 times more likely to write above age-related expectations than those who do not enjoy writing. And free school meals pupils actually remain more engaged than their peers. 31.1% of children who are entitled to free school meals enjoy writing, compared to 25% of non-free school meal children. Writing supports well-being. So among children who write at least monthly, they write either to be creative or to express ideas, to relax, or just because it makes them happy. Scaffolding and independence. Scaffolds must be temporary and planned for removal from the outset, because over-support risks learned helplessness, and fading scaffolds builds confidence and autonomy. So effective scaffolding, which is something that the writing framework is really advocating, combines explicit modelling, guided practice, and then independent application. Now, why does this matter? Why do all these things matter? Because writing is now the lowest performing subject in national assessments. You know, it's even below maths. And the Department for Education writing framework warns that pupils who cannot write fluently will struggle across the curriculum and beyond school. So these figures show that independence and motivation are inseparable. Children who enjoy writing achieve more. Early intervention is critical. Reception and Key Stage 1 are literally the foundation for later success. And sensitive teaching and scaffold fading are essential to meet those writing framework expectations. And the key thing is children have to enjoy it and they have to be motivated. And that is something the framework really advocates, is motivation. And I think it's quite surprising that free school meals pupils do remain more engaged, and research actually suggests several reasons for this. So free school meals pupils often face more external challenges, and writing can serve as a safe space for self-expression and creativity. The National Literacy Trust data shows that children who write for enjoyment often say things like "it helps me relax" or "it makes me happy," and this could resonate more strongly with pupils who are experiencing disadvantage. Also, schools frequently prioritise writing engagement for disadvantaged pupils through enrichment programmes or creative projects, and these interventions can lead to higher reported enjoyment compared to peers who may not receive the same level of motivational support. There's cultural and community factors. Free school meals pupils may value writing as a way to share their experiences and their identity, especially when teachers are using culturally responsive approaches, because writing feels relevant and authentic, and therefore engagement rises. There's a perception of success. Free school meals pupils who enjoy writing often do so because they feel successful in it, sometimes more so than in other subjects. And writing offers them the opportunity for creativity, for allowing their personal voice to come through. So it can, in a way, feel less restrictive than, say, maths or science. So today we're going to look at how to help children become more independent, explore ways to support without stepping in too much, and find ways to boost children's confidence, and see how those first days in school set the stage for everything that follows. So just thinking about this question, what does independence look like in your classroom, and what would help every child achieve it? So thinking about this, unlocking the pathway to independence. Scaffolds are essential, but they're temporary. Our ultimate goal is to transition children from supported writing to true independence, where they confidently generate, organise, and record their own ideas while applying taught skills accurately and consistently. And why does this matter? Because independence doesn't happen by chance. It's the result of deliberate planning and teaching. Scaffolds give children the structure they need at the start, but if they remain in place too long, they create dependency. So every scaffold we put in place should have an exit strategy. So key strategies for building independence: a gradual release of responsibility. So moving from I do, which is teacher modelling, we do, which is guided practice, and you do, which is independent application. And this sequence ensures that children see writing as a process they can own. And it really is about having ownership over their ideas. And a way that works really well is a lot of open-ended questions. So if they have planned a sentence, maybe pictorially, maybe they're writing it down and they're forgetting full stops or missing out key things, it's a case of asking them, have you included everything you need to in that sentence? So putting the onus on them, so giving them that support, but really encouraging them to think things through for themselves. So they are making the decisions. They're actually realizing what works, what doesn't, what needs to be there, etc. So fading scaffolds. Things like sentence frames, word banks, writing prompts, they should be introduced as supports and then systematically removed as confidence grows, because the aim is for children to internalise these tools, not rely on them. So practically in the classroom, you can model thinking through shared writing, really powerfully narrating your thought process. So children are seeing your relationship with language. You're modeling through how to think through ideas, how to change your mind, how to swap words round, how you choose words, your structure, the sentences you use, checking the punctuation. This makes the invisible visible for children, and it makes it tangible, and it's a hook they can hold on to, which they can actually practically then apply. Encourage risk taking, creating a classroom culture where mistakes, which I don't really like using that word because it's not a mistake, it's just a case of thinking through ideas, changing your mind, swapping things around. So those things where we want to change are seen as a step towards mastery. Rather than mistakes, it's actually, I've thought of a better way to do this. So praising effort and experimentation, not looking for just perfection, because children who are resilient, who want to change their mind, who don't have any issue with revising and editing, they're children who are much more likely to engage, with the writing process as they move through the school. Providing structured independence tasks. So using activities like Free Write Fridays, authentic writing projects, letters, blogs, choice-based tasks which build confidence, and I feel most importantly, ownership. So children feel it's coming from them, and therefore they're much more likely to be engaged. Independence is not an event, it's a process. So every scaffold should have a clear plan for removal, so children learned to stand on their own as writers. Right, mastering the art of sensitive teaching. So sensitive teaching means understanding how young children learn and aligning the way we go about teaching them with their developmental needs and rigorously securing national curriculum objectives. So it's about balancing high expectations with empathy and insight. So what does that look like in practice? So obviously, something you all use anyway, observation-led planning. So sensitive teaching starts with watching and listening, really knowing the children we're working with. So instead of just rigidly following the planning or following a scheme, it's responding to what children show you in their talk, their play, and their early writing attempts. And you're using these observations, something you do every day, to shape those next steps. So whether that's introducing sentence starters, modelling punctuation, or revisiting oral rehearsal. Play and talk need to be used as rigorous tools. So mark making, oral rehearsal, and imaginative play are not extras. They are the foundation of writing. And through play, children experiment with language, narrative, and meaning. Through talk, they rehearse ideas before committing them to paper, and sensitive teaching values these processes as essential, not optional. And also another thing we need to be doing regularly is adapting our teaching. And every child deserves challenge. And something I keep on saying about is in the writing framework, it makes a point, a lot of the time about being ambitious for children. And, that needs to start from the minute they walk through the door. And sensitive teaching means adapting support without lowering expectations. So, for example, using visual prompts for EAL learners while maintaining sentence complexity. Offering sentence frames for emerging writers, but encouraging them to extend ideas independently. Providing vocabulary banks, but modelling how to choose precise words. Why does this matter? Because when we teach sensitively, we create conditions where independence can flourish, and children feel understood, they feel supported, and they feel stretched, but they never feel overwhelmed or left behind. Bridging the gap between skill and will. So it's not enough for children to know how to write. They need to want to write. Skill without will leads to compliance, but not creativity. And our challenge as teachers, and it's a huge challenge, is to ignite a genuine desire so that pupils who write are not just capable of applying their learning, but they're eager to do so accurately and consistently. And why does motivation matter? Because as I've said, children who enjoy writing are 7 times more likely to write above age-related expectations than those who do not. Enjoyment transforms writing from a task into a choice, and that choice is the foundation of independence. So strategies we can use in the classroom to spark motivation. So number 1, I've called this choice and voice. Give children ownership. Allow them to choose topics, formats, or audiences within a structured task. So for example, instead of writing about your weekend, you can offer options like, well, write a letter to your favourite character, or create a comic strip about an adventure, or use would you rather prompts to inspire imaginative responses. Because if children feel more in charge of what they're writing about, we can develop all the same skills, but they've got that hook, they've got that sudden interest. Real audiences. So writing becomes meaningful when it matters to someone. Writing letters to people they're familiar with, blogs or newsletters for their friends, stories for younger classes or members of their family. When children see their writing shared and valued, motivation soars. And we're celebrating effort, not just accuracy. And I think that's absolutely crucial, because we need these children to come in, not from a starting point of, I've got lots to learn, I've already got gaps, or I'm already behind, but we need them to see that they have an imagination, that they have a voice, that they are authors, and we're just going on that journey. So we need to build that confidence by recognising progress and creativity, not just the technical side, and using things that you already do, like writer of the week for risk taking and originality, really praising children for that, making it something that they want to be doing. Feedback that praises ideas and voice before correcting errors. And again, I don't really want to say errors. It's a case of going back and constantly just realizing how they can improve it. So children are recognizing, actually, I want to go back and I want to put an adjective in there. So rather than as the teacher, me saying to them, oh, can you go back and do this? Can you add an adjective? Can you add a full stop? I want the children to be saying, I need to add a full stop. I want to use a different sentence starter, because I've just modelled that process so well. When writing feels meaningful, children move from I have to do something to I want to. And like I've said, that's when independence really starts. A well thought through approach starts from day one, and independence actually, I don't think should be a year 6 goal. It's a reception priority. Every stage of learning should connect, and it should create a clear pathway from mark making to mastery. And so our expectations are really high, but actually we've got such good scaffolding in place that children can know what they need to do. They're able to take those next steps with confidence, and gradually they're becoming more independent. So in reception, we're beginning with mark making and oral rehearsal, and we're doing that alongside our phonics, alongside our handwriting, developing those fine and gross motor skills. We're encouraging children to play with language right from the start through storytelling, role play, and sentence play, because these experiences lay the foundation for understanding that writing is a way to communicate ideas. In Key Stage 1, we're moving into sentence mastery and increasingly structured composition of sentences. So we're teaching children how to build sentences with clarity and variety, gradually introducing punctuation and grammar. And we're scaffolding their thinking with visual prompts and oral rehearsal before writing. In Key Stage 2, we're developing paragraph cohesion and authentic extended writing. So we're really encouraging children to learn how to organise their ideas logically, using varied sentence structures and writing for real purposes, letters, reports, narratives, all the time maintaining accuracy and their voice. So tools to support progression. So this is a sort of sentence mastery sequence and some practical classroom examples you can use. These sequences help children progress from oral rehearsal to fluent independent writing. And this is how it can work in practice. So step 1, you're starting with oral sentence building, and you're saying it before you write it. So you might do something like give the children a picture. So maybe a dog in the park. You're asking questions. What is happening? Can you say a sentence about it? So we're really encouraging ownership from the children straight away. We need them to realise that they have ideas, that they have an imagination. We really want them generating those ideas. But alongside that, we're modelling. We're saying a sentence. The dog is running in the park. The children can repeat that, they can adapt it. The dog is chasing a ball. So you might use sentence stems like I can see or the dog is to really support early talk. Step 2, you're moving to writing short patterned sentences. So you might introduce a simple structure, I can see, and the children might write, I can see a cat, I can see a big cat. And you might extend by adding those adjectives or prepositions. I can see a big cat under the tree. And the Mighty Writer Mat uses those visual prompts to support that sentence expansion. So before you come on to actual structured sentences, you can do all those things using the pictures and the symbols, like the adjective symbol of the star. So children are starting to build up an idea of what a sentence is, how it sounds, and how to organise those ideas. So actually their language development is really, really good, and they're then able to put that into the context of a more structured sentence as they progress. Step 3, introducing conjunctions and varied openings. So you might start with 2 simple sentences. The dog ran and the dog barked. And you might model and teaching joining. So the dog ran and barked. And you might progress to because and but and so. The dog ran because it was excited. You can model varied openings. So I might have alternatives. Suddenly the dog ran, or in the park, the dog ran. And with Mighty Writer, I can do all of that right from the autumn term of reception. I can just have the pictures and I can place a sentence starter in front of those pictures. So even if I'm just doing that in my story time at the end of the day, the children are constantly being exposed to hearing different words, hearing a range of sentence starters, seeing me enjoying experimenting with that, changing my mind, swapping things round. So even if they're not yet applying it, the fact is I'm giving them so much opportunity to hear it and actually visualize it. And of course, they can have the Mighty Writer mat on the floor and they can physically do that for themselves. So all the time, they're really encouraged and motivated to experiment with language. Step 4, progress to paragraphs with cohesion and flow. So you might build a mini story. So literally just with 3 pictures, a beginning, a middle and an end. And children might write 1 sentence for each. And then you can link those with conjunctions. So the dog ran to the park. It chased a ball, then it lay down to rest. And you can teach time connectives, first, next, finally. And that's a really good opportunity to encourage rereading for sense and flow. And something I think is really important is working together, in partners and really encouraging each other to check, let me read my sentence out. Does it sound right? And especially up until the end of year 2, giving children as much opportunity to work together and then encourage each other to listen and hear for sense, checking for sense. Actually, I think I need to add this to improve it, or could you add this to improve it? Things you do already, but really making sure that children are actually having that ownership. They're actually applying independently what you've been modelling and working on together. Extra practical ideas you can do. Things like a sentence surgery. So giving a jumbled sentence and asking children to fix it. So they're really starting to think carefully about word order. Sentence stretch. So start with the cat slept as an example and add detail. The tired cat slept on the warm mat. Sentence combining. So you might have 2 short sentences and then 1 longer sentence using a conjunction. Oracy is woven through every stage. Talk, as you all know, is literally the engine of writing. So oral rehearsal before every writing task. And that's going right from reception all the way through Key Stage 1, Key Stage 2, whether it's retelling a story, debating ideas, or explaining their reasoning, because this ensures that children can articulate their thoughts before committing them to paper. And also, like I said at the beginning, writing frames and scaffolds that fade. So frames and prompts are useful early on, but they must fade as confidence grows. So you'll begin with structured templates and then gradually remove supports so children learn to plan and organise independently. But the idea is that they've had so much opportunity to do that. And then obviously with Mighty Writer, you have these mini ones so that children can actually plan a structured sentence pictorially. And over time, they need less and less prompts on there because they're so much better at being able to hold ideas in their head and move those ideas around. Another thing the writing framework is really advocating, as you will all know, is dictation. And you can actually use dictation to build independence, because dictation is more than just like a spelling check. It's actually a powerful tool for developing confident, independent writers. And like I said, the framework really recognises dictation as essential because what it does is it bridges the gap between transcription and composition. So when children write down sentences spoken by the teacher, they're practicing applying their phonic knowledge in context, they're securing their spelling and their punctuation accuracy, and they're developing their handwriting fluency without the cognitive overload. And this matters because Independence grows when children can record their ideas accurately and automatically. And dictation provides structured rehearsal of sentence patterns, helping pupils internalize grammar and syntax. And you might just start with a really short pattern sentence, which is linked to your current phonics. You know, literally, the cat sat on the mat. And you can progress to varied structures and use of conjunctions. So the cat sat on the mat because it was tired. So dictation reduces the cognitive load of idea generation. It allows children to focus on their transcription skills, and over time, these skills become automatic. You can use dictation as a daily warm-up. It's just focused practice that literally can transform fluency and their confidence, because it's just something that's become a habit, just something that they're used to because they've just done it so much. When progression is seamless, independence literally becomes inevitable, and every stage should prepare for the next. So children leave each year ready for the challenges ahead. So as you know, and many of you are using Mighty Writer in your classrooms already, Mighty Writer is designed to begin from reception, going straight through year 1, year 2, and as an intervention tool in Key Stage 2. And what Mighty Writer does is it provides effective scaffolding, and it combines the explicit modelling, the guided practice, and the independent application with metacognitive strategies to promote self-scaffolding. And what Mighty Writer does is provides those visual scaffolds that fade naturally. So it's helping children move from supported sentence building to independent composition. And it's structured, but very flexible design helps pupils learn how to organise their ideas and apply those taught skills without becoming reliant on prompts. And the whole resource is built on developmental principles, supporting teachers to meet children where they are. You know, it uses multisensory tools, images, symbols, tactile components, and that make writing accessible for all learners. And it really does focus on building those early years objectives and meeting those national curriculum objectives. And it really does make writing really fun and purposeful. So from reception through Key Stage 1, Mighty Writer supports that progression. In reception, oral rehearsal, mark making, simple sentence building. Year 1, expanding sentences, introducing punctuation and sequencing ideas. Year 2, developing paragraphs, varied sentence structures, and that aligns perfectly with end of year expectations and the writing framework. As I've said, those mini Mighty Writers, which are on the website and which you can enlarge so children can work together, they allow for talk, they allow for planning together, they allow children to actively apply their understanding and develop that independence so that they start to internalize an understanding of how language sounds, what makes sense, and also an increasingly sophisticated understanding of word order and word choice, because we don't want children needing Mighty Writer or anything like it in Key Stage 2. So Mighty Writer is that kind of bridge between theory and practice. And it really does inspire writing lessons that lead to independence. Now, I've just going to launch the poll. So if you're happy just to fill that in, it just takes a couple of seconds. And that would be really helpful, especially if there's certain things that you would like to discuss. So in conclusion, it's clear independence in writing doesn't just happen. It's actually something we're actively teaching, we're nurturing, and most importantly of all, we are modelling. Because when we empower children to write with confidence and ownership, we're not just building their literacy skills, we're actually teaching children how to think, how to communicate, and it's all those skills they need to literally become future learners. So just thinking about your own classroom practice, what would you change tomorrow, if anything, to unlock independence for your writers, you know, the children in your classroom? So there's going to be more webinars next term. The dates will all be available on the website and all the themes. And also I'll be sending out emails just to remind people and let you know what those topics are. So that draws that to a close. The email after this will have a recording of this webinar on, and it will also have some resources for you that you might find useful, that you can start to apply in your own practice. But you might find, actually, I feel that we've got really good progression in our school, that we've got children who are really understanding, you know, are motivated to write and are independent writers. So does anybody have any questions they would like to ask, that they would like to either say out loud, you know, and use your microphones? I think it's really good to be able to share practice, or just to put questions in the chat. So somebody's asking, is this the right training to show us how to use the Mighty Writer? This is more literacy in general. It obviously refers to Mighty Writer. If you have got Mighty Writer in your school and you feel you need either initial training on it or more training, all you need to do is go on the website, and on the home page you can actually just select training. So you can either book a 15-minute snapshot where you can just have a brief overview, or you can go 30 minutes or 45 minutes. And a 45 minutes will enable me to give you a really thorough overview of what the Mighty Writer Mat is and how you build it up over time. So you can book that. It can just be one teacher on their own at a time that suits you. You don't have to email. You can just see where the diary is free and you can just book on. And that's designed for anybody. Also, if you've got other teachers in your school who you think would benefit from knowing more about Mighty Writer, or who would like some more training, let them know and they can book themselves on. Equally, if you've got teaching assistants you're working with, you know, they're really important, aren't they, in terms of, you know, the way they're interacting with the children, the extra support they can give them, whether you're using Mighty Writer as an intervention tool or whether they're just using this daily in the classroom. If they haven't used Mighty Writer before, if they would like to know more, they can book on training as well. And also I run webinars specifically for teaching assistants. They're all free, as these are. The next one is Wednesday the 10th of December. So, you know, feel free to let the teaching assistants that you work with know. If they book themselves on but they can't make it, they will be sent the recording. Does anybody have any questions or anything they would like to share? Well, thank you all ever so much for joining. I really hope you found this helpful. And if if you've got questions but you'd rather not ask in a big group, then I'm happy to stay online towards the end. And if you want to stay on and just have a chat, that's absolutely fine. But I hope you enjoy the run up to Christmas. I hope it's not too busy and you look forward to your holidays once you get there. And remember to look out on the website for future webinars for the spring term. Thank you all ever so much for joining.